Welcome to this video. Today we're going to talk about the difference between Python and Python 3 to start. Then we'll learn about getting input from the keyboard. Then we'll learn about importing from a library, how we do it and why we do it. And finally we're going to make a game which will hopefully prepare you to do your homework assignment, the keyboard input assignment. Now if you notice, if I just run Python right here, it comes up with this warning right here saying Python 2.7 isn't recommended, and it suggests that we use Python 3. Now the instructions on how to install Python 2 also had instructions on how to install Python 3, and that you can install both of them. So in fact I also have Python 3 installed on my computer, and there's no warning when I do that. So what is the difference? Well, obviously Python 3 is a newer version, and almost everything's the same in Python 2 and Python 3, at least at the level that we've learned. There's two main changes they made in Python 3, and one of them has to do with the print command. So if we're going to do Python 2, we could just say print hello, and we can run it. And just a quick note, I saved this file on my desktop folder, and if you notice, the first thing I did was change directory into my desktop folder so that the two files, or the file is in the same folder that my command or my terminal window is in. And you can see that that works just great. But if I try to do Python version 3 with that, you can see that there is an error. Why is there an error? Well, they changed print that you have to put parentheses around what you want to print. So now that will work in Python 3. So why don't we just use Python 3? Well, mostly because JES that we've been using all semester is only Python 2. So if we were to use the Python 3 stuff in JES, it wouldn't work. But the other thing is, besides this print, and the thing that I'm going to teach you today about getting input, Python 2 and Python 3 are mostly the same. So it shouldn't be a challenge for somebody that learns Python 2 really well to just jump right into Python 3. So you don't have to worry too much about using the older version of Python. Also, if you're following along, you do not need to install Python 3 if you've already installed Python version 2. Just stick with Python 2 unless you really want to spend some extra time installing Python 3 and getting both Python 2 and Python 3 working on your computer. So next, we'll get input from our keyboard. So the way that we get input from the keyboard, and just let me clear out that, is we just use this raw input function right here. And we have one input, and this is the prompt on what you want to ask or present to the user so that they know what they should type in on the keyboard. And so we might say enter your name. Okay, and we run it. We see that enter your name shows up, and we can type our name, press enter, and we got input from the keyboard. Now if we're going to use Python 3, instead of using raw input, we just use input. So let's try that. And we can see that it works. So we're going to stick with the Python 2 way of doing it for the rest of the video, but as you can see, pretty easy to transition to Python 3. Just get rid of this raw underscore right here. Now I wrote a function that will get a name from the keyboard and return it to whoever called it. Now down here I'm going to call our function and then print out the name that was inputted in. So let's give that a try. And you can see that it printed out our name right there. Now we'll get back to number 3, but we're going to skip this for right now and move on to number 4, where we're going to make a game. The game we're going to make is a guessing game where we'll come up with a number, and then we'll let the user try to guess the number to see if they got it right. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get the user's name this way. Then we'll print welcome to our game, and we'll print out their name. And then finally we'll play the high-low game right here. that'll print let's play high-low. Then we come up with this number right here, and then we're going to ask for their guess. And for now, let's just print out what they guessed. So we'll try that over here. And we have a error right here. I forgot to use this, put a plus here to concatenate the period onto the end. So this is pretty common right here. We'll print out a string and then we'll concatenate a variable kind of in the middle. So you always put pluses on both sides. And so now it says enter your name. So welcome to our game, and it has my name there, and then it says let's play high-low. And I can try to guess a number. Maybe I'd guess 50. And we see that our guess gets printed out. So that's good. Now let's go ahead and compare our number to the number that we want them to guess. So we're going to compare the guess to the number they want them to guess. So we'll say if the guess is greater than the number that is the right answer, then we'll print out too big. And if not, or if our guess is less than the number that they're trying to guess, then we'll print out too small. Then finally, if it's not bigger than the number and not smaller, then it must be equal to the number. So we'll just print out you guessed right. So let's try this. Let's go ahead and play our game. And it's good that we know what that number is so we can go ahead and try to take guesses. So we'll enter our name, enter your guess. Well, I'll guess 60, and that should be too big. Yep. Try it again. This time we'll guess 50, and it should be too small, but it's saying too big right here. Let's go ahead and try the right answer. Enter our name, then try the right answer, and it still says too big. Well, that's puzzling. How come this is not working? Well, the problem is our data types. This right here, 57, is obviously a number. But when we get input from the user, it always comes back as a string data type. So what we need to do is convert that string into a number. And to do that, we just use our int function right there. Integer means whole numbers, numbers that do not have decimal points or fractions. And so we'll convert whatever they enter in to an integer, and that should fix our problem. So now we'll enter our name. We'll do 60, and 60 is too big. Enter our name again. We'll do 50. That's too small. And finally, we'll do 57, and we got it right on. So it's not going to be too much fun if the user has to restart our program and enter their name every time they want to make a guess. So let's make this guessing process let's put it in a loop so they can keep guessing until they get it right. So what we'll do after we get our number is we'll do this in a loop. Now here's a case where we cannot use a for loop because I don't know how many times the user is going to have to guess until they get it right. He could get it right on the first time, or it could take him 1,000 tries. So that's why we're using a while loop. Now if you notice I say while true, this means that we are never going to get out of the loop. So this will be an infinite loop. And let's put all of this comparisons inside of the loop. So we move it all over so that it repeats this over and over again. Let's see how that works. So we can do a guess, 50, yep, 60, too big. We guess it right. Yay, we guessed it right. All right, well, I got it right, but I kind of want my program to end. But as you can see, this is never going to end. It's just going to keep asking for guesses. So how do we get out of the program? You hold down the control and then press C, and that'll quit your program right there. So what we need now is a way to quit our program when they guess right. There's two things that we can do. The first thing we can do is use what I call a flag. So I'm going to just say right equals false. So this is a Boolean. It can either be true or false. So we have numbers, strings, and Booleans here. So this could be true or false. And while they're not right, keep going. And then down here, when they guess right, we can change right equal to true, and that'll quit our program because they're no longer right. So let's try that and see how it works. So we'll do 30, and that's too small. 57, we got right, and now it quit. So this is using a flag, and then we can change the flag in here, and then that causes the while loop to stop. Now there is another way to do this. So the other way to do this is with what we call a break statement right here. And what break means is quit the loop that we're inside. So we're inside a loop, and if we get into this case, it means get out of that loop or quit. There is one other thing like this, and it's called continue. What it means, if we have some more information here, that go print, I'm at the end of the loop here. So what continue does is, if we get into continue, it quits this iteration of the loop and goes back up and starts. So when we do continue, we shouldn't see the print because it'll quit and go right back up here. But if we get into this block or this block, we won't do the continue, and we'll run into the bottom of the loop and print that out. So let's go ahead and try those out. So if we guess too high, you notice it doesn't say I'm at the end of the loop because we did the continue. If we guess too low, you can see that we see I'm at the end of the loop. And if we guess correctly, we see that it says you guessed right, and it quits the loop right there. You can see we don't even get to the end of the loop. It just says I'm out of here. So of course we don't really want to do that for our game. I was just putting that in there so you could see what it did. Now we're going to talk about number 3, because we're at a point in our game where it is only fun one time. When I run this program, if I didn't know, the answer was 57 because I put 57 in there. If, say I give it to my friend to try. If he tries, he could have fun one time, and then once he guesses, he's like, oh good, it's 57. He might think, well, it's not going to be 57 again, but I'll try it anyway. He's like, oh, it is 57 again. And then he'll try it again, and he'll start to say, well, gee, it's 57. This game is over. I won, right? So what we want to do is have this become a random number. Now, in order to get random numbers, we're going to have to import a library. So a couple of questions that might come up with this is the libraries are part of the Python itself, but how come we have to import them? Why can't Python just include everything in it? And it all has to do with names. There are lots of libraries in Python, and if you had all of them there wouldn't be enough, there would be so many names taken up that maybe you might conflict with someone else, or two different parts of the library, or two different libraries might use the same name and they might conflict with each other. So it's all trying to keep our names that we use available and so that we know them. So to import from a library, we just go import from random. We just import the random library, and when we get that, we can say random dot randint, and right here is a range that we want, so we can do a range from 0 to 100 right here. That means it'll give us a number between those two values. We might even want to let the user know that somehow, so that when they try to guess a number, they know it's going to be between 0 and 100. So now let's try this game here, and we can guess, I don't know, 50, And 50 is too big, so we can guess 25. That's too big. Let's guess, I don't know, 13. Still too big. Let's guess 10. Still too big. That's 5, 1, 0. And I got it right. I guess it chose 0 the very first time. Let's play this one more time to make sure it's not 0 every time. We'll try 50 again, and 50 is too small now, so 75 still too small. 90 still too small. Let's try 95. 95 is too big, so now 92. Still too big. 91, and we got it right. So now this is a funner game because we will have to guess the number every time. Now, the reason why, just to go back on why we don't just include everything automatically, is because we might want to use this name random as one of our names. Maybe we could have called this number a number random. And if we did that, then the library right here that has random numbers in it would conflict with our name. So again, that's why we have to import it. Since I have to write this, then now I know that random is taken, and I shouldn't use it as one of my own names. So that's the full reason why we have libraries. Now there is one more way that we can import this. We could go from random, import randint. And so this case right here, the random library actually has lots of different random functions, random floats, random doubles, and other stuff. So from random, we can import the random int. And right here, when we do that, we no longer have to say random. And once again, that's because I'm writing this up here. Now I know that random int is a name that I can use, and that's my random function right there. So you can use either two ways to import a library. Now one thing with these random number generators that you just might find something interesting is that they're not really true random numbers. They're called pseudo-random numbers, which means false random numbers. And these numbers are seeded. So you come up with a seed, and you seed your random number generator, and then it will come up with a sequence of numbers that appear to be random. But if you seed it with the same seed, then you'll get the same sequence of numbers. So if any of you guys play Minecraft and you've heard about the seed of the world, what they're doing is they're taking that seed to seed the random number generator. And then once that random number generator gets seeded, they use that to decide how to create their world. They use the seed that follows that sequence to generate random numbers. Now, the final thing is just about your homework. Your homework will be writing a function a lot like this. You're just going to ask a user their name and ask how many credits they are, and you're going to tell them if they're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior.